Okay, welcome back. We are now going to go into Daniel chapter 3. We had started, we were actually into Daniel chapter 2, and we went and touched base in some Revelation and in some Daniel chapter 7 as we were going into and explaining what was going on in terms of an overview of what's happening with the world empires, what's happening now, how it relates to what has happened in the past, and where we're going from here. So, we talked about how the Bible told us that Japhet will be tempted, right, or enticed to dwell in the tents of Shem. Okay, we were showing how the first 2,000 years of Earth's history ended with Noah's life. Okay, and it was from Adam to Noah. And then the next 2,000 years of history were dominated by the children of Ham, the Babylonians, the children of Cush, the children of Mizraim, which we know now to be ancient African civilizations, ancient Egyptian, what they call so-called Egyptian civilizations, ancient Babylonian civilizations. These people dominated the planet for 2,000 years. And now the son of Noah that's named Japhet, his children dominate the earth for 2,000 years. Okay, starting with the Medes and the Persians, then going to the Greeks, then now the Romans. And so you have now a third 2,000 year period. And then, of course, the Bible goes in sevens, seven being the perfect number. And after this 2,000 year period is coming to an end, which is where we are right now, there's 1,000 year reign of Shem, which is now the Messiah coming from the children of Shem, from the children of Israel. So the total is 7,000 years. And that 7,000 years is completeness in the war with Asatan. Because at the end of the 7,000 years, and again, let's take a look at that, Revelation chapter 20, the beginning of the 1,000 year reign is Revelation chapter 19. It's also Ezekiel chapter 39. You want to read about the beginning of the 1,000 year reign of Messiah? Read Revelation chapter 19. Read it in conjunction with Ezekiel chapter 39, and you will see the beginning of the 1,000 year reign. Then you want to talk about the end of the 1,000 year reign and now the beginning of the eternal kingdom, which shall never come to an end. That's the second resurrection. That is, which we're going to look at right now in Revelation chapter 20. And it's also what we're going to look, when you want to compare it, look at Ezekiel chapter 38. So you look at 38 with Revelation chapter 20, and you'll see that's the second part. That's the end of the 1,000 year reign. That's the second resurrection. And that's the end of the world empires as we know it, and the beginning of the kingdom of Messiah with no interruption whatsoever. Matter of fact, let's start at chapter 19 of the book of Revelation, because this is describing the return of the Messiah, the second return of the Messiah. It's describing what's going to happen. We're not going to look at Ezekiel 39 today because we're studying Daniel. And we're studying Daniel chapter 3. What I'm trying to get you to understand, because what we're going to be looking at today in Daniel 3 is the mark of the beast. Okay, we're going to be looking at the mark of the beast. Now, I want you to understand Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom, which we talked about in Daniel 2, the head of gold. Nebuchadnezzar's kingdom was the last world Hamitic kingdom. Now, there were other Hamitic kingdoms that came after that, but they weren't world empires. You had the kingdom of Mali. You had the kingdom of Ashanti. You had the kingdom of Timbuktu. You had these kingdoms that were in mostly West Africa. You had some in South Africa, but they were not world empires. They were local empires, okay? And even they were overcome and broken up by the children of Japhet. The African nation of Nigeria. That is controlled by the children of Japhet. That's how you get the name Nigeria. The African kingdom of Ghana is controlled by the English. The African kingdom that was Cameroon is controlled by the French. They call Cote d'Ivoire. Cote d'Ivoire, what is that? Ivory Coast. That's a French colony. They control. Portuguese is spoken by the Angolan people. Why? Because the Portuguese came and took it over. Portuguese is spoken in Brazil. Why? Because the Portuguese came there and brought African slaves and took it over. Because that's showing you that Shem is being taken over by Japhet. Okay, and so that's why you have the Japhetic kingdom that we're dealing with right now, the Japhetic time period, the Japhetic empires, what you're dealing with right now. Okay, but all of these were originally Hamitic kingdoms. And so at the end of the Hamitic kingdom is what we're going to be looking at in Daniel chapter 3 today. And you're going to see how Nebuchadnezzar responds to the prophesied end of his kingdom. And then you'll understand exactly how Yefet is responds to the end of his kingdom. But first, let's take a look at the beginning of the 1,000-year reign of the Messiah in Revelation chapter 19. Revelation chapter 19, beginning at verse 11. Revelation chapter 19, beginning at verse 11. There's a lot more to this, as I said. If you want to look at it more closely, look at Ezekiel chapter 39 with this, and in other scriptures that come along with it. Hello, Ruth. And then you'll get more of a complete picture. But let's take a look just for the overview of what we're talking about now. So Revelation chapter 19, beginning at verse 11. And I saw heaven opened, and behold, a white horse, and he that sat upon him was called Faithful and True, and in righteousness he doth judge and make war. See, again, when Messiah returns, there's not going to be a peaceful transfer of power. When Messiah returns, Shalom, brazen serpent, when Messiah returns, there's going to be a violent overthrow, a revolutionary violent overthrow of this current system in this current kingdom. Okay, and you're going to see it right here. Look, talking about Messiah. He in righteousness he doth judge and make war. His eyes were as a flame of fire, and on his head were many crowns. And he had a name written that no man knew but he himself. And he was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. Also, I want to stress here, when you have an understanding that Yefet's rule is coming to a close, and that Yefet was prophesied to rule, how do you, if you're not a Yefetite, how do you know if you're not a Caucasian? How do you handle being in a kingdom that you understand when you have the understanding that this is their time and that their time is coming to an end? Well, let me tell you what you don't do. You're not going to overthrow them. You're not going to overthrow them. Okay? But that does not mean, of course, that you let them kill you. So you got to be wise. You protect yourself from them because they will try to hurt you. Okay? But at the same time, you can't overthrow them. I don't care how many bombs and guns you get. You can march in the street all you want. It's their time. And the more you call on your creator, because that's what he designed this to do, for you to call on him, he'll protect you. He'll guide you. He'll direct you so that you will not have to have those type of confrontations with them. But if they do come at you, you got to protect yourself. If they do come at you, you got to protect yourself, and you got to understand this is their time. And now they're more dangerous because we're at the end of their time, as I'm going to show you in Daniel chapter 3. But here, he was clothed, verse 13, talking about Messiah. He was clothed with a vesture dipped in blood, and his name is called the Word of Yahweh. And the armies which were in heaven followed him upon white horses, clothed in fine linen, clean, white and clean. And out of his mouth goeth a sharp sword, that with it he should smite the nations. That is, the nations being the Gentiles. The word nations is heathen or Gentile. That he should smite the nations, and he shall rule them with a rod of iron, and he treadeth the winepress of the fierceness and wrath of Al Shaddai. And he hath on his vesture and on his thigh a name written, King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And I saw an angel standing in the sun, and he cried with a loud voice, saying to all the fowls that fly in the midst of heaven, come and gather yourselves together unto the supper of the great God, that you may eat the flesh of kings, and the flesh of captains, and the flesh of mighty men, and the flesh of horses, and of them that sit on them, and the flesh of all men, both free and bond, both small and great. And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. So this obviously was going to happen here. So you see Messiah is going to return. And he's going to gather his saints together, both the ones that are living and the ones that he raises from the dead. And then the sons of Yefet are going to say, no. This is our kingdom. And Asatan is going to cause them to gather their armies together to try to fight against Messiah. I know that sounds crazy, but this is what it says. It says, and I saw the beast and the kings of the earth, that same beast from Revelation chapter 13, that same beast that's a conglomeration of the four kingdoms we saw in Daniel chapter 7. Same one. That same little horn. Okay? And I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. It's a final war. This, my friends, is the true Armageddon. Armageddon is not a fight between earthly powers over the Middle East. Armageddon is a fight against all the earthly powers gathered together to fight against Messiah and his people in the Middle East. When Messiah comes, the Bible tells us in Revelation chapter 14, also and if you read Isaiah 63, which we just did a study on, those people that are in the Middle East right now are going to be destroyed first. They're the first ones going to be destroyed because Messiah is going there. Okay, and he's taking the true Israelites there. The Bible says he's going to stomp them to death. Wait, I know that sounds hard, right? Revolution is hard, brothers and sisters. You think revolution is easy? You think war is easy? You think this is a joke? This is no joke. This is no peaceful transfer of power. Isaiah chapter 63. I'm just telling you what the word says. I'm not imposing my will. I'm showing you what the word said. Watch what the word said. Isaiah chapter 63, beginning at verse 1. Isaiah 63, beginning at verse 1. Going down from verse 1 down to verse 5. Actually, from verse 1 to verse 6. Who is this that cometh from Edom with dyed garments of Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that speak righteousness, mighty to save. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel, and thy garments like him that treadeth the wine fat? I have trodden the winepress alone. Of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury. Their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in mine heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. And I looked, and there was none to help, and I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore, mine own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury, it upheld me. And I will tread down the people in mine anger, and I will make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. That's violent language right there, brothers and sisters. That's what's coming. And you see it right here. It said, and I saw the beast, right? It would say, I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat upon the horse and against his army, compared to Revelation chapter 14. Notice Revelation 14. Revelation chapter 14. We read this just the other day. Revelation 14, beginning at verse 18. Right. Revelation 14. Actually, I'm going to begin at verse 17. And another angel came out of the temple which is in heaven, he also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, which had the power over fire. And he cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle, and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth, and gathered the vine of the earth, and cast it into the great winepress of the wrath of God. And the winepress was trodden without the city. That's outside Jerusalem, because it's going to take place outside the New Jerusalem. Without the city, and the blood came to the winepress, even unto the horses' bridles, by a space of 1,600 furlongs outside the New Jerusalem. The New Jerusalem is going to set down on the land, Yah's chosen people's land, and then he's going to bring his chosen people to that land. He's going to raise up from the dead those that are his. He's going to have those that are alive and remain with the 144,000 come to that land, and then after he destroys what's on that land, the rest of the planet is going to come together and try to fight against him, because the whole planet is being run by Japhet. It's Japhet's last stand. Okay, that's the Armageddon. It's Japhet's last stand. Okay, here you go. Revelation chapter 19. And the beast, verse 20, and the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that had received the mark of the beast, and them that had worshipped his image. These both were cast alive into a lake of fire, burning with brimstone, and the remnant were slain with the sword of him that sat upon the horse, which sword proceeded out of his mouth. And all the fowls were filled with their flesh. That's where we headed. That's what it's coming to. See, that's why you got Japhet dominating, but he ain't just going to give up his domination. Ain't going to be no peaceful transfer of power, not from these Caucasians. No, it's not. No, it's not. You're going to be seeing a lot more of these marching in the streets, a lot more of these shootings. People are getting scared. People are getting scared. It's in the air, brothers and sisters. It's in the air. Okay. And our safety, those that want the truth, and I don't care if you Caucasian, I don't care if you Asian. I don't care if you Indian. I don't care if you bloodline Hebrew. Don't matter if you are Hamite. Your only safety is in the God of the tribe of Judah, the God's son, Yahushua, Messiah, the God of heaven's son in the tribe of Judah, Semite. That's your only safety. That's our only safety. You understand? Ain't no other place. He can protect us. Remember what the Bible say? He that dwelleth in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. That's what the Bible say. Okay, that's what it say. And it's gonna be it's gonna get more violent. It's getting ready to get crazy. Okay, it's getting ready to get crazy. It's already crazy. Look what happened in 2020. It's crazy. Get ready to get crazy. Okay, because these are the last stands of your effect. So now that is what we're getting ready to experience. Okay, that's what we get ready to experience. Then 1,000 years is going to go by. But during the 1,000 years, notice it was the false prophet. The false prophet is the United States of America and the religious powers, which is the so-called Protestant movement, which is so-called evangelical movement in the United States of America. That's the false prophet. Okay, the beast is Catholicism. The whole Christian situation makes up all of this. First Catholicism, and out of Catholicism came all these so-called what? Protestant churches. That's where you get your evangelical from. That's based in the United States of America. We think the conservative Christian movement is all about. Okay? And that's the image to the beast. Okay? I'm giving you the whole thing because we're getting ready to see it in Daniel chapter 3 in a few minutes. Okay? Now notice, this is the beginning of the 1,000-year reign. Watch what happens here. Chapter 20, verse 1. And I saw an angel come down from heaven, having the key of the bottomless pit and a great chain in his hand. And he laid hold on the dragon, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, and bound him 1,000 years. How he bind him? Notice chapter 20, verse 3. And cast him into the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. After this, he must be loosed a little season. What is a pit in the Bible? Look it up. What is a pit? It's a grave. That's what a pit is. It's a grave. Look up the word pit, Sheol, the grave. Okay, so what? He putting the devil to rest, a temporary death for the devil for 1,000 years. He's in a pit. He's dead for 1,000 years. He cannot rise up. Because why? Because at the end of the 1,000 years with all his followers, there's going to be what? A second resurrection. First resurrection is for the righteous. Second one is for the wicked. Okay? Okay? So now he puts him in a pit for 1,000 years. We ain't hearing from that fool for 1,000 years. And while he's in the pit and while all his subjects are in dust, the earth's going to be developed and prosper for 1,000 years of Messiah's reign. It's going to be developed and built up and prosper. And then the wicked come back. Revelation chapter 20. Start at verse 3 again. And cast him unto the bottomless pit and shut him up and set a seal upon him that he should deceive the nations no more till the 1,000 years should be fulfilled. After this, he must be loosed a little season. And I saw the throne, and they sat upon them, and judgment was given unto them. And I saw the souls of them that were beheaded for the witness of Yahushua and for the word of Yah, which had not worshipped the beast, neither his image, neither had received his mark upon their foreheads or in their hands. And they lived and reigned with Messiah 1,000 years. That's 1,000-year reign of Messiah. All those people that are suffering, all those people that are oppressed all over the earth, that are being starved to death, all those people that are being used and abused, all those sex slaves, all the people that's been stuck in these ghettos, all these people that were redlined, all these people that have been in chains, all these people that are victims of the 1%, the billionaires and millionaires that get to live large on this planet. All of those victims are going to be in the kingdom, praise the Most High. And all of those people that have been oppressing them are going to be in the grave. And the religious leaders, the false prophet, and the beast that represents all the religious leaders, they're going to be in the lake of fire, never to come back. They're going to the lake of fire before the devil. Do you realize that? The false religious leaders of today, not even talking about those that are resurrected, we're talking about the first resurrection, which is only the righteous, the ones that are on the planet right now, flying in these private jets, being on these televisions, right? They're going to be the first one to touch the lake of fire. Right? That's what it said. It said, the beast was taken, and with him the false prophet that wrought miracles before him, with which he deceived them that received the mark of the beast, and them that worship his image. These both were cast alive. into the lake of fire, burning with brimstone. They're not even getting a chance the second time. They're gone this time. Soon. Okay. Now, what happens at the end of the 1,000-year reign? Revelation chapter 20. Let's start at verse 5. But the rest of the dead live not again until the 1,000 years were finished. This is the first resurrection. Blessed is holy is he that hath part in the first resurrection. On such the second death hath no power, but they shall be priests of Yah and of Messiah, and shall reign with him 1,000 years. And when the 1,000 years are expired, that is the completion. See, you got 6,000 years now, then there's another 1,000. That's the 7,000 years. That's the completion. When the 1,000 years are expired, Satan shall be loosed out of his prison. He's brought back up from the pit with all his subjects, and shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth. And notice what he calls them: Gog and Magog. We have already established. The Bible already shows us. In Genesis chapter 10, Gog and Magog are the sons of Japhet. They're the last ruling powers of this planet. And in that second resurrection, they're going to be the leading proponents of trying to destroy Yah and his kingdom and his son and his servants. To deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city. So here, the first time in Armageddon, they tried, beginning of the 1,000 years, and they're destroyed. And their leaders, the religious leaders, are placed in the lake of fire. They're not coming back. You don't see beast and false prophet mentioned in the second resurrection, because they're not coming back. No, but all the rest of them that are resurrected now, okay? All the rest of them that are resurrected in the second resurrection, they're going to try to take the city again. There's an important thing within the city that they're looking for. Do you know that? There's something within the middle of the city that they want. Not just to kill Messiah, not just to kill us. No, there's an object in the middle of the city that they want. It's the same object that Asatan tried to have Adam and Eve get after they sinned. It's the same thing. He said, if I could just get them to get there and taste this, we won. Genesis chapter 3. Genesis chapter 3, beginning at verse 22. Genesis chapter 3, beginning at verse 22. And Yahweh Most High said, behold, man is become as one of us, to know good and evil. Now, lest he put forth his hand and take also of the tree of life and eat and live forever. Notice the hesitation right there. Because if Adam and Eve were permitted after they were in their sinful state to eat of the tree of life, sin would be immortalized. Then the words of the devil would have came to pass. You shall not surely die. But what happened? Therefore, Yahweh Most High sent him forth from the Garden of Eden to till the ground from whence he was taken. So he drove out the man. Notice he had to drive him out. Because in his sinful state, Adam didn't want to die. And he wanted nothing to do with death. And so he was already planning. The devil already working with him. See if you can get a bite of that tree. That one. Now you done ate mine. Go eat this one now. Drove the man. And he placed at the east end of the Garden of Eden cherubim and a flaming sword which turned every way to keep the way of the tree of life. He had angels guarded until he could take it away, which is what he did. He had angels guard the tree of life, because man would have tried to get it to stop. Just even now. Why do you think one of the biggest industries on planet Earth is anything to do with helping us stay young? Anything. Whether it's facial surgery, whether it's vitamins, whether it's some secret thing they find in some bark of a tree somewhere. Anything to do with helping man live is popular. It's gonna make money. Because man, from the day he got kicked out of the garden, he wants to stay, he wants to live. He wants to keep living. And Adam, even though Adam knew he had messed up, Adam committed the worst sin of any person in history. Yes, he did. He committed the worst sin because of Adam's sin, all of us in this situation. And even Adam got forgiveness, see? So Adam's like, man, I don't want to die. I don't want to die. He's already seeing leaves fall off trees. He ain't ever seen that before. Seeing animals kill each other. You see one son kill the other one. Man, if I could just eat of this tree now, I ain't got to worry about that death situation. The Most High already read his mind and his thoughts. He said, no, we ain't going to let him put forth his hand and touch the tree of life. Drive him out the garden. Angels had to drive him out of there. And then they guarded it with a flaming sword. Come in here again, I'm going to cut your head off, son. Until he could take it away. Okay, so now here we are at the end of the 7,000-year period. Here we are. And Asatan is letting all of them know, if one of y'all, just one of y'all, can break through and get to that tree in the middle of that city, all of us will live. And that's why they're desperate. They will fight to their death. And they are literally going to do that, to try to get one bite of the fruit of that tree. Isn't that silly? Isn't it crazy? But yeah, that's what it is. Okay, and they surround the city. They said, the Bible says, Revelation chapter 20, it says, and he shall go out to deceive the nations which are in the four quarters of the earth, Gog and Magog, to gather them together to battle, the number of whom is as the sand of the sea. And they went up on the breadth of the earth and compassed the camp of the saints about and the beloved city. And fire came down from Yah out of heaven and devoured them. That's the end of it. That's when it's over. Okay, that's the end of it. Now, let's see how the Hamitic people handled what the Hamitic king was told was going to be the end of his kingdom. He said, Daniel said, you're the head of gold. After you're going to come another one, inferior to you and inferior to that, blah, blah, blah. In other words, though, Nebuchadnezzar, your kingdom is limited. By the time your grandson comes, he's the last one. This Babylonian kingdom going away. The head was gold. That's the head was gold. I am emphasizing that for a reason. You're going to see in about a minute. The head was gold, just the head. Then there was silver, brass, and iron. Then iron and clay. Okay. All right. Let's go to Daniel chapter 3. So at first, we saw how he reacted, right? He worshiped Daniel. He worshiped Daniel. He said, light odors and sweet incense unto him. He's a God. Worship Daniel. That didn't last, though. That didn't last. Daniel chapter 3. Watch what it says here. Daniel 3, beginning at verse 1. Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold, whose height was 70 cubits and the breadth thereof 6 cubits. And he set it up in the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Wait, what'd he do? The head of the image he saw in the dream that was given him was of gold. What'd he do? He made himself an entire image of gold. What is he trying to say by making an entire image of gold? What is he trying to say? What is he trying to say? Forget what Daniel said. Forget what his God said. This whole image is gold. It ain't going to be no gold and silver and brass and iron. It's just gold, brother. That's what he's saying. No, my kingdom's not coming to an end. No, it's not. It's going to be gold through and through. So what he's doing? He's defying the God of heaven. He's deciding, no, the 2,000 years ain't, no. My people, the Hamitic people, we're going to keep reigning. This whole image going to be gold. He got the image from the dream. Okay? He got the image from the dream. So now Daniel showed him what the dream was, reminded him what the dream was, right? So he saw head of gold. Then Daniel told him silver, then brass, then iron. Then Daniel showed him. He saw it. And he acknowledged no man could tell this secret except the God, Daniel. Your God is the God of gods, Daniel. But then he sat and thought about it for a minute. See, brothers and sisters, I don't know about you, but that happens to me. I've seen it happen to other people. Something happens, right? And then you don't react right away. But then it works on your mind for a second, right? Like one time, I had a boss. Like we ended up getting along pretty good. But in the beginning, we had a rough start. We had a rough start in the beginning. After he hired me, we had a rough start. And one day, now in the office I was in, right, we were all in these little, in this desk in the open office, right? And we had our computers. We were doing technical stuff. And we had our phone. And everybody had their phone and their computer. Everybody did. Had their phone, their computer. Their phone. They would look on their phone, do text message, whatever, and then go back to the computer. So the boss was walking by, and my wife had texted me. Something happened, and my wife texted me, and I was texting her back. And he leans over to me, and he said, "May I suggest that that's inappropriate?" Now, everybody in the office, 30, 40 people have their desk, their phone. And he goes to me, one of only two people that look like me in that office. "May I suggest that's inappropriate?" And I said, "Yes, sir." And I closed the phone, and he walked away. But right after he walked away, this anger started coming up in me. And the other brother that was there saw it. And he said, brother, because I didn't realize what my face looked like. But I was starting to boil, man. Like, wait, he gonna just talk to me at all these people in here? He gonna just talk to me like that? And I could feel the hairs on my neck standing up. I don't know what was gonna happen next. I can't tell you, but I was getting very angry. And my boy saw it. And he said, bruh. No, man. He said, bruh. He said, why don't you go get some air? Let's go outside. And at that particular moment, somebody was coming delivering goods for the office, coffee and whatever. The office, they had a kitchen in there. And he said, "Come on, man, let's go unload the truck," like that. And I'm glad he said that, because he saw my face. I didn't know what I was gonna say or do, but it was coming. And that's what happens. You start to think about it, and it settles on you, right? You ever see it? That ever happen to any of you? It settles on you. All of a sudden, now you're getting angry now. That's Nebuchadnezzar. See, Daniel told him, and then he acknowledged, he bowed, he said, "Your God's God." Then he started thinking about it. What you mean my kingdom's going to end? What you mean some inferior kingdom coming after me? I ain't going out like that. Hey, and he commanded his servants, "I need you to make this image, and I need you to make the whole thing of gold. Because my kingdom not coming to an end. I don't care what Daniel's God says." This was the end of the sons of Ham and of their kingdom and their 2,000 years of domination. Okay? Nebuchadnezzar said, "We're not going out like that." And then he went further. Notice what it says here, Daniel chapter 3, beginning at verse 2. "Then Nebuchadnezzar, the king, sent to gather together the princes, the governors, the captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriff, and all the rulers of the provinces to come to the dedication of the image with Nebuchadnezzar the king that set up." Now I want you to notice who he called for. He did not call for the common people. He did not. He called for the leaders of his world government. That's what he did. He called for the most powerful people in his world government to come to the dedication of this golden image. Okay? All the leaders. There was one man, though, one man in the whole kingdom that he did not call for. You're going to know. There was one man, only one person. He excused this person. Why? Who was the person? Y'all tell me. He excused. There was one person he did not call for. Where my power talk people? There was one person he did not. That's right. He did not call for Daniel. Why? Why wasn't he going to call for Daniel? Because he knew better. Because Daniel might embarrass that brother. Because he had Daniel listed like a god. So he's like, no. Leave Daniel alone. Everybody else, though. Leave Daniel alone. Because he did Daniel the one interpreted that dream, bro. Daniel already showed him where it's at. So he ain't messing with Daniel. But he called everybody else. Everybody, including Daniel's 3 friends. Call all of them. All the leaders. Why? Because if you get all the leaders to do something, the common people are going to follow. I mean, that's how it is, isn't it? Whenever you get the leaders doing whatever, if the leaders wear a certain type of clothes, certain type of shoes, they dress, whatever, the leaders, you're going to get the whole people. Why do you think when Barack Obama was president, black people thought, oh man, we're gonna have it now because we got a black president, because he's the leader, right? Why do you think since Donald Trump became president, all these Caucasians running around with their guns clicked? Huh? Because they get bold now because they're the leader, right? So when you get your leader to do something or be something or act somewhere, you're gonna get the people gonna follow. That's just how it is, right? So here what he do? He get all the leaders in his kingdom. Notice he said the governors, princes, judges, captains, treasurers, sheriffs, rulers, all of them, the leaders. Meet me, he said, meet me in the plain of Dura. Such and such a time or such and such a day. I need all y'all out there. We're going to dedicate this great golden image that I've set up. Nebuchadnezzar is the king. Listen now. Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar is the king of Babylon. Babylon is the world leader, the ruler, the leading ruling country of the earth. And he is the king of that country. I need you to remember that now. It's going to be important. Okay? He's the king of the leading ruling nation of the planet. Ultimate power. So he tells the leaders of his kingdom, I need y'all to meet me in the plain of Dura on such and such a time, at such and such a place. Okay? Daniel chapter 3, beginning at verse 3. Then the princes, the governors and captains, the judges, the treasurers, the counselors, the sheriffs, and all the rulers of the provinces were gathered together unto the dedication of the image that Nebuchadnezzar the king had set up. And they stood before the image that Nebuchadnezzar had set up. Then an herald cried aloud, to you it is commanded, O people, nations, and languages, that's everybody, that at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. See, he took it a step further. Not only was his kingdom, he was declaring, was going to last forever. Not only was he going to defy the God of heaven in terms of saying, no, my kingdom is not going out like that. He's going to say, now you're going to worship me as the God. Because if you worshiped an image that represents Nebuchadnezzar, are you not by default worshiping Nebuchadnezzar? It's his image. It's made of gold. He set it up. And he said, when you hear the music, dance to the music. In other words, bow down. When you hear the music, worship this image. That's what he said. He's the ruler of the most powerful nation on the planet. He is the king. And he said, worship me by command. Because he wasn't having it when Daniel told him his kingdom and the rule of the Hamites was coming to an end. He wasn't having it. He said, no, we're not going out like that. Not just no head of gold. You make the whole thing of gold, and I want y'all to worship it. Pause for a second. What would any true Israelite have a problem with that? Why would an Israelite have a problem with that? Why would the Israelite decide this was an issue? I mean, if you worship Buddha, right? You have no problem bowing down to this image if you worship that image. If you worship Vishnu, right? There's no problem with that. But why would an Israelite have a problem with that? Because the Israelites had a covenant that they made with their God, right? Israelites had a covenant that their God made with them. It was mutual. They made a covenant with their God, and their God made it with them. Exodus chapter 20. Exodus chapter 20. And this was an Israelite covenant between the Israelites and Yah. Exodus chapter 20. Notice what it says. Beginning at verse 1. Actually, let's look at verse 1 and 2 so we get a context. And Yah spake all these words, saying, I am Yah, thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Let's stop right here for a moment. How did he introduce this covenant? He said, I'm your God that brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. He did not bring Chinese people out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. He did not bring Russian people out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. He did not bring Greek people out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. He did not bring Anglo-Saxons out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Well, who did he bring out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage? The children of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Remember what he told Moses? I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and I have come to deliver my people, a specific people. He made this covenant with. He did not make this covenant with everybody. He made this covenant with the people. He said, I am Yahweh, or the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. It's a specific covenant with the Hebrew people of the Israelite seed, specifically for them. He said, I'm making a covenant with you. He said, Amos chapter 3, verse 1, verse 2, he said, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. You only have I known. I have not, in other words, I have not been this close to any other people on the planet as a nation as I have with y'all. I'm the Lord thy God, which brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage, out of slavery. I brought you out of slavery. You're not going to have any other gods but me. Covenant. Brought his people out of slavery. That's not, wait a minute. Is his people out of slavery again? Yeah. He's always bringing his people out of slavery because they're always going into slavery because of their disobedience to him. And he's bringing them out of slavery because he wants to let us know we just have one God that brought us out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. First command of the covenant, thou shalt have no other gods before me. And let's make it more specific. Thou shalt not bow, thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them, for I, Yahweh thy Most High, am a jealous God. So the Israelites would have a problem with this image because it would be a violation of the very first commandment that their God made with their fathers. A violation of the very first one. Don't have no other gods. Don't bow down to any other gods. And here Nebuchadnezzar is declaring this statue, this image, which is an image of himself. He's declaring it a god. How did he declare it a god? Because he just told them, worship it. I keep telling you, this mark of the beast has nothing to do with a chip. Because a chip got nothing to do with worship. This is everything to do with worship because Asatan wants the world to worship him. To worship him. He don't care if you realize it's him or not. He just tells you to command you to bow. And he said, you better bow. Okay? Daniel chapter 3. And that, brothers and sisters, is the problem that Ham had here when Daniel, the Israelite prophet, gave him the message from the Most High, your kingdom's going to come to an end. He did not want to hear that after 2,000 years of domination. Did not want to hear that. He said, we're not going out like that. Just to show you who I am, I need all the leaders of the world to come and meet me in the plains of Dura. And I want you to see this golden statue. And I'm going to play some music. And when I play the music, I need you to dance to the music. I need you to bow. Because you're going to show me that I'm the God and ain't nobody else. And I don't care what Daniel's God says. My kingdom's going to continue. Daniel chapter 3. Verse 5 and 6. That at what time you hear the sound of the cornet, flute, harp, sackbut, psaltery, dulcimer, and all kinds of music, ye fall down and worship the golden image that Nebuchadnezzar the king has set up. And whoso falleth not down and worshipeth, that same hour shall be cast into the midst of a burning, fiery furnace. So what is the situation now? Either you worship or you die. And why? Because we're not going out like that. Ham is going to rule And he's going to continue. He's been ruling for 2,000 years, and he's going to continue to rule. We're not going out like that. Now, I told you, that was the 2,000-year reign of Ham. Well, now look, we're at the end of 2,000 years of Japhet. How's Japhet going to react? What do you think? How's Japhet going to react to the end of his reign? Do you think he's going to decide to go out like that? What say you? So here we have an image. We have a king, a world leader, and we have an image to that leader. Okay? Everybody with me so far? All right. Well, let's see how does Japhet react under the same circumstances. Revelation chapter 13 shows us exactly how he's going to react. And it shows us we're actually living it. See, this is the thing. This ain't no theory. Brothers and sisters, we're actually seeing it. It's right here. You're seeing how they're reacting. You're already seeing it. You got proof. Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd. Let's go back. Emmett Till. You got proof already. You're already seeing it. You're already seeing it. And that's just the beginning. It's getting ready to get thick. It's getting ready to get hectic. Fat Joe said it's getting ready to get hectic. Okay? Watch. Revelation chapter 13. So we saw the beast that we already showed you was a conglomeration of all the various kingdoms that's now Japhet has decided he's taking all the various kingdoms of the past and he's making it into his kingdom. He put all that together into his little secret sauce and he had his stuff too. So now Japhet said, this is my kingdom. I done created the whole thing. And the devil said, that's right. And I'm giving you power, seat, and authority over the whole planet, Japhet. Gog and Magog. Okay? Revelation chapter 13. Beginning at verse 1. And I stood upon the sand of the sea and saw a beast, a kingdom, a king, a nation, rise up out of the sea, having 7 heads and 10 horns. And upon his horns were 10 crowns, and upon his heads the name of blasphemy. And the beast which I saw was like unto a leopard, and his feet were as the feet of a bear, and his mouth as the mouth of a lion. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. The dragon, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, that's the dragon. And the dragon gave him his power and his seat and great authority. The dragon is against the Most High. Verse 3. And I saw one of his heads as it were wounded to death, and his deadly wound was healed. And all the world wondered after the beast. We'll talk about that when we get later on in Daniel. And they worshipped the dragon, which gave power unto the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, who is like unto the beast? Who is able to make war with him? Notice the similarities to Daniel chapter 7. And there was given unto him a mouth speaking great things and blasphemies. And power was given unto him to continue 40 and 2 months. That's 3.5 years. We're going to get to that too when we talked about more in Daniel. And he opened his mouth and blasphemed against Yah, to blaspheme his name and his tabernacle and them that dwell in heaven. And it was given unto him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. Who are the saints? The Israelites. It was given to him to make war with the saints and overcome them. Look, everything we've been dealing with, especially like the United States of America, is like a synopsis of the last 2,000 years. It is. It's the synopsis. It's a little example of what's been happening to us, not just for 400 years, for 2,000 years. What's been happening? Every law that they make in this country is against the black man to kill you. Every single one. And when they do something good for the country, you don't get it. It's not for you. And when they need you, they call you and then they throw you away. Let me just give you some recent examples. Let me give you some recent history examples. So there was a civil war, right? The war between the states, right? You had Lincoln on one side, and you had the Confederate Jefferson Davis on the other side, right? Okay, so now they decided to have war, North against the South, right? They try to tell you it's for states' rights. It's for slavery, because the South was making so much money on that free labor. 250 years of free labor. People still rich today based on that. They've created other kingdoms based on that. Free labor, 250 years, you had to pay nobody. Mistreat them, rape them too, and you got paid. Cotton. tobacco. You got paid. For almost 3 centuries. 3 centuries, you got paid. Okay, so now you have a war between the states. Lincoln see that his place is in trouble because them rebels getting ready to fight. They're not giving up that loot that easy. So he said, okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. All you slaves, all y'all that's in chains, you fight for us, I'll give you freedom. Brothers came. Brothers escaped. Brothers did what they had to do. Said, give me that gun. And they fought against the South. And they figured, oh, Uncle Abe is our friend. So they fought against the South. And the North won. They wouldn't have won without them slaves. They wouldn't have won. They'd have got beat by the Rebs. Slaves came and they won, right? Now, place is destroyed. They done ruined the whole house. They done burned up Atlanta. They done destroyed the place. Need to be rebuilt. So now you got the reconstruction. Help us rebuild, and we'll set you free. So we help rebuild the place. Soon as construction over, soon as it's rebuilt, they don't need us no more. Jim Crow. Now you're back in chains. Jim Crow. Okay? That's how it always is, brothers and sisters. That's how it's been. That's how it's been. When they first set up Social Security, it took us 30 years to start getting them checks. For 30 years, all the Caucasians got them. We didn't get jack. When they gave veterans benefits to be able to buy houses, we took us 30 years to be able to buy our first one with that benefit. We didn't get jack. Meanwhile, they done bought, sold, bought, sold, bought, sold. What we get? Red line. They had a war on drugs. What was that for? To stack us up in jail. We ain't got money to go to Afghanistan, create no daggone heroin or no cocaine. How I get here? Who brought it on them ships and planes over here? And then set it up in a red line neighborhood like that. Who did that? We ain't have money to do that. It was designed, by design, to destroy you. They've been doing that. And the Most High has not allowed them to destroy us because we his chosen people. See, that's why they scared. They've done everything they can to wipe us out. And we still here. We still here. That's the miracle. We still here. And you know why? Because we're the chosen. Can't wipe out y'all's chosen. And they know it. They can fear. That's why they scared. That's why they're grabbing their guns. Click, 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 click. They're trying to kill us. Because you know what? They scared. They need to be. See, you could have 2 ways. If you're a son of your faith, you got 2 ways you could go. You could repent of your sins and the sins of your father. Or you could just, you could rebel. That's what Nebuchadnezzar did. You can rebel. You can decide, no, we're not going out like that. Click, click. You can pop your guns. It ain't going to help you, though, at the end. It ain't going to help you. Revelation chapter 13. Here you go. And it was given him to make war with the saints and to overcome them. And power was given him over all the kindreds and nations and tongues. And all that dwell upon the earth shall worship him, whose names are not written in the book of life of the Lamb, slain from the foundation of the world. He who hath ears to hear, let him hear. That's your sons of your fet right here. That's their rule. Then here come the backup. You see, the Vatican is the government. You guys don't realize that. The Vatican is the government. The whole world government is centered in the Vatican. Because the Vatican is its own country, you see. This is not just like some religious thing. It's a religious thing and it's a political thing. And they don't need their own army. They got the U.S. Army. They don't need their own army. They got the U.S. Army. They got the English Army. They got the German Army. They got the French Army. All of them answer to the Vatican. All of them. Oh, you thought you was voting for something? Revelation chapter 13, verse 11. And I beheld another beast, that is another country, another kingdom, coming up out of the earth. And he had 2 horns like a lamb. And he spake as a dragon. He's deceptive. He smiles in your face, but he hates you in his heart. He smiles in your face and shakes your hand, and he's thinking of ways to destroy you and take over. He looks like a lamb, but he speaks like a dragon. Notice verse 12. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast. We ain't going out like that, Yefet said. You're gonna worship the kings, our king in the Vatican. That's all Christianity. I know y'all have this hard. Y'all love white Jesus. I'm just trying to be real with you. Truth is truth. The man you call Jesus is of the tribe of Judah. of the kingdom of Israel, of the sons of Shem. That's him. That's the real one. Okay? That's him. And by the way, the letter J, for Jesus, the letter J, it came into existence 500 years ago. You say, that's a long time. Yeah. You take where we're at now in 2020, you take 500 years off, you're like at 1520, right? That's when J came into existence. There was no J in the English language, in the Hebrew language, in the Greek language. There was no J. J came into existence 500 years ago. Now, what you say, why you bring that up? That means if there was no J, it would be impossible for the Messiah's name to start with a J. Think about that. If there was no J, it would be impossible for Messiah's name to be Jesus, because it would be started with a J. There was no J. So somebody might ask, well, what was it then? What was it? Well, what they did, that is, they being English, they being Roman now, they replaced Y or Yah with J for Jah, which is why when you read Psalm 68, verse 4, it says J-A-H, Jah. Or when you read what Moses said in Exodus chapter, Most High told Exodus chapter 6, verse 3, it says Jehovah. But his name could not be Jehovah because there was no J. And when you look at the original King James, the letter V sounds like Wah, not Va. And the letter U sounds like Va. It's opposite. So when you look at the original King James, you might be confused because you're looking at them letters and there's a U where it's V and there's a V where it's Wah, like that. So it's not Jehovah, it's Yahweh. You understand? There's no J. Yahweh. That's how it originally supposed to sound. You understand? But see, it's all been changed because Yefet said, I'm taking over. It's my time. I'm taking over. So it's now Jehovah. It's Jesus. Because I'm taking over. Because why? It's his time. But his time is coming to an end. How do we know? Because I just told you I'm awakening, right? I'm not the only one. We know now his name is not Jehovah. We know now J didn't exist. We know now the man they called Jesus wasn't called Jesus. Yahweh Shah. That's his name. That's his Hebrew name, representing the tribe of Judah. You understand? So here, they look like a lamb, but they're really a dragon. The same dragon that give power, seat, and authority to that seven-headed beast. Same one that controls this one. He looked like a lamb, like it's a Christian nation. U.S. is a Christian nation. It speaks like a dragon. Verse 12. And he exercises all the power of the first beast before him, and causes the earth and them which dwell therein to worship the first beast, whose deadly wound was hit, to worship the first beast, causes the earth, that is the whole world, to give honor to the first beast. He said he exercises all the power of the first beast before him. It's not just that the first beast existed before him. Like you look at it, he exercises all the power of the first beast that existed before him. That is true. But it's more than that. When you look up the word before him, it's under his supervision. He causes the earth and then therein to worship the first beast. He exercises all the power of the first beast that supervises him. That's really what's going on. He exercises all the power of the first beast that supervises him. Why do you think you got a conservative Christian movement? Why do you think you got that? No accident. The way it is, brothers and sisters, when you want to look at it closely, okay, most of the leading Democrats are Ashkenazi Jews. Most of the leading Republicans are Roman Catholic. That's how it is. See, they got everybody looking at liberals and conservatives. Meanwhile, they doing their thing. Now, I want you to see how this is going to end up. Because again, you had in Daniel 3, you had Nebuchadnezzar saying, we're not going out like that. Y'all going to worship this image. And because why? Because, the Hamites going to continue. No. Now you got the Japhet saying, no. We're not going out like that. The Japhet's going to continue. Caucasian power, white power going to continue. We're going to keep that white privilege. We're going to keep that supremacy. Are you really? Revelation chapter 13. Revelation chapter 13. Let's see. Let's start at verse 14. We're going to go into this in more detail as we get closer and more in Daniel. I'm just giving you an overview of the mark of the beast. Okay. Verse 14. And deceiveth them, again, he's a deceiving power that dwell upon the earth by means of those miracles which he had power to do under the sight or in the supervision of the beast, saying to them that dwell on the earth that they should make an image. There's image again. That they should make an image to the beast that had a wound by a sword and did live. So just like Nebuchadnezzar said, I'll make an image to me, they said, we're going to make an image to the beast, our supervisor. Okay? We're going to make an image. And we're going to have all y'all worship the image because the image is going to give honor to the beast. What's the image? Let's keep reading. And he, that is the United States of America, the second beast, the one that looks like a lamb and speaks like a dragon, he had power to give life unto the image of the beast. See, this one talks. Nebuchadnezzar's image didn't even talk. This one talks. That the image of the beast, the image, not the beast itself, but the image, should both speak and cause as many as would not worship the image should be killed. Same thing as Ham said. Ham said, when you hear the music, you dance. And if you don't bow, you die. This one say, this one's going to speak itself. And when it speaks, it say, worship me. When you worship me, you're giving power to my boss, to the one that I'm in the image of. And if you don't worship me, you die. Well, who is this? It's not a person. It's a system. You want to know what the system is? You want to know what the institution is that tells you got to be approved by this institution? Well, what does the lamb represent that speaks like a dragon? It's not the true lamb. It's a fake lamb. It's fake because not only is it not really a lamb, it doesn't really represent the true lamb. It's Christianity. Christianity is the image. The image that came out of Rome. What do you think Protestant Christianity came from? All of the Protestant Christians, Martin Luther, William Tyndale, John Huss, Wesley, they were all Roman Catholic priests that broke away from Rome. All of them. And in fact, Luther and William Tyndale, they never intended to leave the Catholic Church. They wanted to reform the Catholic Church. Well, over the last 20 years, especially, you've been hearing leaders of the Catholic Church telling the Protestant people, come back home. This dude Blair, I think his name was Tony. I think Blair. Remember Blair? He was like a high bigwig in the Catholic Church, and he had all the leaders of the different Protestant churches come to this thing, and he's like, it's time for y'all to come back home. There's no more Protestant. Y'all not protesting anymore. We're all the same. Come back home. That's what we've been saying. Because he's right. Because all y'all came out of him. He said, y'all come back to mother. That's where Christianity comes from. That's why he could say that. He could say it with authority. Power, seat, and authority. He could say it. Because all the Christian churches came out of him. And I know y'all want to think y'all different with Mormons think, we have Joseph Smith and that's our prophet, SDA, Ellen White's our prophet, and Jehovah's Witnesses, we have Jehovah's Witnesses, we got the Watchtower, all of y'all the same. None of y'all different. Y'all all the same. You come out the same person. You come out of Rome. All of y'all. And Rome knows it. And you know what? The Most High has given Rome authority over all them churches. Why? Because they belong to him. The devil's argument is, this is my creation. And Most High can't argue with that. He can't argue with that. Because the devil's right. Even though he's a liar, he's telling the truth there. All them churches belong to him. That's why his Jesuits control all of them. The Jesuits control all of them. They were permitted to, but they cannot control the ones they've been trying to kill for the last 2,000 years. They think they control us, but our freedom is in our awakening. That's our freedom, in our awakening. Okay? As we awaken, our freedom is coming, and the times of the Gentiles are fulfilled. Okay? And that's what's happening right now. Notice again, let me give you two verses that kind of illustrate the awakening. Okay? I'm going to give you two that illustrate the awakening. These two verses pertain to Israelites. You ready? And we're going to stop on this one, right? Deuteronomy chapter 30. And notice it's Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1, 2, 3, and 4. Deuteronomy 30, 1, 2, 3. Deuteronomy is a conversation between the Most High and Israel. That's it. And that conversation was intermediary by Moses. Moses was intermediary between the Most High and the chosen people. That's what this Deuteronomy is all about. Okay? And it shall come to pass. Future from here. It shall come to pass. When all these things are come upon thee, what things? And upon thee who? You Israelites. The blessing and the curse. The blessing was they was in the land. The curse, they were going to go into slavery. When all of these things come upon thee, the blessing and the curse, which I have set before thee, that's Deuteronomy 28. And thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations, whither the Lord thy God has driven thee. He said, remember what Messiah said? They shall be led captive into all nations by the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled. So he said, it shall come to pass when it come, thou shalt call them to mind among the nations whither you've been driven into, led captive. You're awakening now. That's what we call the awakening now. And shall return unto Yahweh thy Most High. Not to white Jesus, not to your Baptists, not to your SDAs, not to your Jehovah Witness. No, not to your Mormons. Never mind the Book of Mormon. Never mind that. This has got nothing to do with us. Not to the Roman Catholic Church. No. And shall return unto Yahweh thy Most High that brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery the first time. And shall obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day, thou and thy children, with all thy heart and with all thy soul. What happens then when we awaken and we're in the captive lands and we start to realize who we are? What happens then? That Yahweh, thy Most High, will turn thy captivity. See, you can't turn your own. You can't fight against your fat and think you're going to win. It's their time. But when their time comes to an end, it's not coming to an end because we beat them. It's coming to an end because our Messiah beats them. That Yahweh, thy Most High, will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee and will return and gather thee from all the nations where Yahweh, thy Most High, have scattered thee. We've been scattered captive in all these nations. Remember Revelation chapter 20? He's going to gather us back together to the land. They're going to try to take the land. Remember Revelation chapter 19? The beast and his armies gathered together with the false prophet to try to take it. See? If any of thine be driven out to the outmost parts of heaven, from thence will Yahweh thy Most High gather thee, and from thence will he fetch thee. Verse 5, and Yahweh thy Most High will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it. And he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy father. And Yahweh thy Most High will circumcise thy heart and the heart of thy seed, to love Yahweh thy Most High with all thy heart, with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. Wait, watch verse 7. And Yahweh thy Most High will put all these curses upon thine enemies, on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. Vengeance is mine, saith Yahweh. Vengeance is mine. We ain't got to worry about it. And you Caucasians ain't got to worry about us. But you do have to worry about our God. You are going to have a problem with him, and he's going to have a problem with you. And yes, you are going out like that. Mark of the beast or no. Just like Nebuchadnezzar could not stop the Hamitic rule from coming to an end. All the white privilege and white power and white supremacy in the world is not going to help you. White Jesus will not help you. Prophecies against you. Wait a minute. 2 Chronicles, chapter 7. 2 Chronicles, chapter 7. I told you I'd give you two witnesses. 2 Chronicles, chapter 7. And there's more. There's a lot more. Lot more. All the prophets talk about this. Isaiah, Ezekiel, Jeremiah, Hosea, all the prophets, Amos, they all talk about what I just read to you. So I could give you a whole lot more, but I'm gonna just give you 2 for now. Okay. 2 Chronicles chapter 7. This is what the Most High told Solomon about his chosen people. 2 Chronicles chapter 7, verse 14. If my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and will heal their land. If my people, see, our fight is not with the flesh and blood of the Caucasians. You may appear that way. Our fight is between us and our Father. What we need to do is go to our Father and make up. Make up. That's called repentance. Make up with your Father. Tell your Father you've been wrong. Tell him you've been wrong. Tell him he was right and you deserve what you got. And tell him you want to come back. Like the prodigal son, you want to come back to your Father. You know, and you're sorry for what you did. You're sorry for what your fathers did in the past, how we done messed up. We're sorry about that. We want to come back to Daddy now. We want to come back, Dad. We want to come back. He'll take you back. That's why he sent Messiah. He'll take you back. He wants to back. That's prophecy. See? And Yefet, those of you, the few of y'all that are out there that say, you know what? Our fathers did wrong. We did wrong. We put our hands on the chosen seed. We've been oppressive. We've been bad. We messed up. We want forgiveness. Don't worry. The Most High has made a way through the Hebrew Messiah, not white Jesus. You can come to the Hebrew Messiah. And he said, if you repent of your sin and the sins of your fathers, I'll receive you. He said it. Isaiah 56. He said it. I'll receive you. What do you think Paul was sent to Gentiles for in the first place? See, some Israelites think he was only sent for scattered Israelites. And it's true, but it wasn't Paul sent for scattered Israelites. It was John. It was James. It was Peter. Those are the ones that were going out to try to find the scattered Israelites. They weren't going after Gentiles. It was only Paul and Barnabas with him and Silas that was called to go to the sons of Yefet. And he was called to call the sons of Yefet to the Hebrew Messiah, the one of the tribe of Judah, the one of the sons of the Hebrews. He was trying to call y'all to him. He said, you can get grafted into this Israelite olive tree if you repent of your sins and the sins of your fathers. You could do that. He said, if he broke off the natural branches to make room for you, what you think he could do with the natural branches? Put them back in the tree they belong in. You guys are just in there by faith. You come from a wild olive tree, and I put y'all in there to save y'all. But don't, no. I could bring back I'm going to bring back my natural branches. Israel going to be saved. Okay, he's going to do it. That's what the awakenings, that's what's going on right now. So right now, we're in the final preparations. Japhet's going to get more angry. Revelation 13. We're going to get more into that later. We ain't doing it today. I just want to give you an overview. We're going to come back more on Daniel 3 the next time. But I want to tell you, Japhet's rule is coming to an end just like Ham's rule did. And Japhet's going to fight back and try to receive worship as a god just like Ham did. And Japhet's going to fall and be destroyed just like Ham was. The difference between then and now is the earth in terms of the geographic area is bigger, because then we were really talking about the northern part of Africa, what you call now the Middle East, what you call now Turkey, what you call now the southern part of Europe and Asia Minor. That was the earth then. But now the Bible says that the little horn serpent shall do the whole world. And that's what he's done. Do you know communism was started by an Ashkenazi Jew? Did you know that? Yeah, started by them. And the modern banking system started by them. See how the clay and the iron work together? And yet all the leaders of the Ashkenazi Jews kiss the Pope's ring. They all do. How do you think they got that land in the first place? Balfour Agreement. And that Balfour Agreement had to be ratified by Rome. That's how they got that land. They don't belong there. They were the sons of Yefet. Okay? It's all coming to an end. It's all coming to an end right now. We're all here. We're witnesses to the awakening, to the corruption. It's all, see, Messiah said there's nothing hidden that shall not be made known. And it says in the book of Ephesians, the unfruitful works of darkness will be exposed. That's what's going on. Everybody thought priests were all holy, right? So you find out how many thousands of little boys they don't rape. It's all being exposed. Okay? All being exposed. Sex slave operations. All being exposed. Okay? For the corporations to get rich, people working in fields for nothing. All being exposed. It's all being exposed. Why? Because it's bearing witness. Everybody get a chance to see. Some of us don't want to admit what we see. Some of us want to hide our head in the sand, especially you children of Yafet. Okay, you go ahead and do that. That's your choice. People like me are being brought forth to tell you this so that you can overcome and that there's a possibility that y'all could be saved. Some of y'all. Most of your cousins not going to receive this message because just like Nebuchadnezzar, they're not going out like that. It's your turn now, though. It's the end. The time is being fulfilled right now. The awakening of the Israelites is already happening. It's already happening. And there's nothing that can stop it. Could the devil stop Messiah from coming out of that tomb? You sure? I'm sure he wanted to. Could he stop it, though? No, he couldn't stop it. Because Yah's word is going to come to pass, and there's no power in the earth that can stop it. And he has prophesied the end of 2,000-year rule of Yafet. He has said the word, the beginning of the eternal kingdom of the Semites is coming to pass. And there's no power that can stop it. The only thing that's going to be determined now is who's going to be on what side. What role of history are you going to play? That's your choice. But it's going to happen as he has said it because he is the creator. Okay? And so my prayer for you is that you made the right choice. Shalom.